hear you.
Yeah, I don't have anything. I don't have anything. I wanted to keep this really, you know, kind of low key, answer questions. I don't have prepared slides or anything. So just so you know when we record.
Yeah, I think that's like that was the whole idea. And we can
Awesome.
probably do another one next week, depending on, because it generally takes a week for things to, you know, to
Absolutely.
get rolling. So yeah.
Hello.
We have a new baby.
We have a
I'm so
young
sorry.
one. Absolutely.
I'm sorry. It's from my background. It's, you know, it's very hard to keep him away over the weekend. So I just, you know, allowed to
Don't
let him come out.
apologize.
Absolutely
That's
fine.
real life. This is real life. I'm good
You
with
want to
that.
say hi?
Hello.
You want to say hi? Hi.
Now he's like, oops, I'm out.
Really full of bad energy.
Hi.
Aw.
What's that? Okay, Mama is in meeting right now.
That's,
Do you want to join
that's
Mama?
the next solution to save the world, right? That's
Yeah.
okay. All right. So Shahini, Raghu, do you guys want to start? I can start.
Yeah, let's start with a little introduction on ourselves and a little bit about the Gurukool, each of us, and then we can take questions, I guess. You can.
Perfect. So we're going to keep this, I think we are recording now. So we're going to keep this low key. I'm Tracy Costello. I am the executive coach for Gurukool platform. It is a subgroup within STEMPeers, largely focused on individuals who are looking at transitions in the near term. It is really community building. It's all about networking. It's about having peers around you who are going through the same experience, but also having mentors available to help you with questions and to navigate that space and help you get into the space that you're looking for. We do webinars within a 10-week series, and then we take a little bit of a break and then we start a new series. So every cohort that comes in, we want you to kind of, you know, get to know everybody in your cohort, but we want you to sort of think more broadly and ultimately start to get to know everybody in the platform. Oh, Mayur, I see you there now too. Sorry, I extended my screen and you popped in. So I don't want to exclude you from sharing your intro and whatnot. We do career panels, we do presentations on everything from, you know, understanding who you are, your skill set, your interests and how to transition, and all the way through networking and informational interviews. We talk about cover letters, we talk about resumes, CVs, interviewing, negotiation. We've done some other different types of things in between, and within any particular 10-week session, we can't cover everything, but we try to cover the highlights of what's most important. And if there's something that you're looking for that we haven't done within a particular lecture series, then it's either recorded or it can, you know, be the next thing that we do. So we do career panels. We're trying a new piece now of giving you guys opportunities to be project managers for some of the different initiatives that are going on. So that's in the works and launching. We've got our first group that's going to step into some of those roles out of the first cohort from the spring. And you know, as they are getting into those roles, I think some of the other groups within STEMPeers are going to be equally excited about having extra hands on deck. And so we're going to have more opportunities in that space too. So that's a little bit about the program, but I want to make sure we spend a lot of time on questions. But so let's get Shahini, Raghu, Mayur, if you guys want to do quick intros, you know, share your experiences with the platform and cover all the things that I forgot.
Yeah, I'll go next. I think it'll be nice to the person who stops to call on one person. So we're not wasting time seeing who's going to jump in next, right? So I'll go. My name is Raghu. I've been part of STEMPeers for almost 4 or 5 years now. It's been a great experience. It's such a rewarding feeling, being able to connect with people, help people, um, you know, help them in their career paths, right? Make them feel that there is somebody they can reach out to and get some help when you feel lost. Especially that's how the whole platform got initiated initially by postdocs who came from IISc here, and it feels like a little home away from home. And as Tracy said, this Gurukool platform is it's a little more focused. It's a subgroup of STEM peers, and the goal here ideally is to help people in the transition period. My background is I came here with a PhD from Hyderabad, neuroscience, animal science related field, and then postdoc here for about 7 years before my transition into biotech industry as a scientist, and then worked there for about 3-4 years, got into biotech and um, technology development, stuff like that. And then after doing that for 4 years, I got into the field as a technology specialist, and then got into field application specialist kind of roles, then got into sales and business development kind of roles. So my transition has been from academic to the field, customer facing roles. And then I've been having fun doing it. It's great. One of the links that Sohini had provided was a link to a presentation I did recently, a YouTube video about career transition into BD. What are the different roles and skills expected, etc. So I'll be happy to answer questions about the scientific side of roles, or also alternate roles, what people call alternate roles, business development and field-based roles. So I've had so many transitions in the recent past. So I'll be happy to talk you through that, things to consider, things to think about, etc. The other nice thing I want to say before I stop talking is this platform is so good, and we have so many people, and every batch we have 20 to 30 to 40 people. It keeps growing, and all the past people still exist in the same group. So you're actually building a nice alumni network as well as you go through this. So that it in itself adds so much value, because you have so you probably tell how many people transitioned recently. I owed her a number I didn't give, but sorry. We have a lot of people transitioning every batch, and then they are into jobs. They have visibility into openings and jobs and stuff. So they're always there to pull you up and help you out. So there's a whole lot of value being part of this group. Now with that, I'll stop. There's a lot more to talk about, but let me call upon Mayur if his audio is working.
Yeah, can you hear me guys?
Perfect.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm actually also calling from the phone, so somehow it seems to work at the moment. Thank you, Raghu. And I should also say thank you to the entire team for having Gurukool running, because I think it's an amazing platform, just to start with. For my background, I have done my PhD here in Germany. I'm currently based in Berlin. After finishing my PhD, I moved to Berlin for my postdoc, which was a pretty long postdoc. And during that tenure, I realized about the power of networking and learned the interesting ways on how to transition. And last year in January, I moved to consulting role here in Berlin in a boutique consulting firm. What I particularly like about Gurukool is many facets. I mean, they might seem small things here and there, but when you put them together, they actually grow out to be a pretty magnificent stuff. And a couple of things that I would like to touch is, one is the access to amazing mentors that's available on the platform. And it's not a mentor that you essentially have to take an appointment with. The simple thing is you put your query, and within a few minutes, you most likely are going to have a reply to be able to have a conversation with one or the other mentor. So I think I find this very powerful, unlike the other mentor-mentee programs where there is one mentor and one mentee, and then you probably have to wait for a week, a day, a week, or maybe even a month just to have a phone conversation with them. So I think this is the key point about Gurukool itself. And besides that, I think Tracy and Raghu have very nicely covered the key aspects and how people have fared being a part of the program itself. I think Sohini might also cover some of the aspects in a couple of minutes. Thank you.
Okay, hi everybody, I'm Shohini. I just, briefly my background, I just completed my PhD. I will be starting a postdoc position at Mount Sinai in New York soon. My background is neuroscience. And I joined Gurukool last year in 2020, spring, right before COVID. And I have been working as a project manager for, or a program manager for Gurukool since fall. So for me, I think just joining the program has just opened my eyes and exposed me to a whole different world, because before joining, I thought I knew what I wanted to do or what I wanted to transition into. But when you join the platform, as everybody mentioned before me, that you have these enormous resources from mentors and from all the discussions that have happened in the past. If you're curious, you can actually go through all the discussions that have happened in the platform and also gain so much knowledge from that, because it's there open for all of you. And then insight about different aspects of transition, even if I hadn't had the opportunity to apply all of those myself, but just getting that knowledge and all the wonderful mentors, like as Mayur mentioned, you ask a question and you have so many people answering to that question, and you meet so many mentors and you build relationships with them, and you know that they're there if you send a message on LinkedIn or if you reach out to them over email, you know that you're going to get a reply. And any question, any doubt you have, you ask that on the group and you have responses to that. And the best thing that is there is that we are located across so many different time zones. So if you like, sometimes I wake up and I see a question and already there are responses to that particular question because they are from another country in another time zone. But overall, it's just a group which is there to support and motivate you. And as Mayur mentioned, there are some points you don't think about before you know that you need it, but once you join Gurukool, you know that they're just available to you forever after you're part of the program. And just to give the number, because Raghu mentioned, we have 6 transitions already in 2 months of 2021. And I'm positive, I heard about 3 more that are currently going on. I'm pretty sure the mentors will know much more about ongoing transitions, but that's there. Even during COVID, we had a lot of transitions when we were unfortunately hearing about layoffs in other industries, but we had Gurukool mentees who transition into industry even during that phase. So I'm going to stop now. Padma, do you want to take over next?
Sure. Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Padma. I did my PhD from Europe, Portugal, and then joined NYU Langone in 2019. So I just about finished 2 years, and I joined STEMPeers Gurukool, I think 2020 October. I think around that time. And yeah, I just transitioned. Well, kind of on paper transition, got a offer from Denali Therapeutics. I work in more antibody and antibody engineering, protein engineering field. So I think one big most positive thing about STEMPeers as such that I really want to highlight is the amount of information that is there. So when I was doing my PhD in Europe, US was an option, but I didn't know the complications of immigration and how do you navigate the system, what are the options out there. And I truly believe that it's because of the STEMPeers that I was able to educate myself and actually be aware that in fact, there are options out there and there are ways to navigate from a J1 to O1, and there are really opportunities out there. And I have spoken to other peers who are not as much aware. So STEMPeers really has this this good set of mentors who are out there giving you the information when and how you want, and there is a lot of information. I personally like to thank Deepa Onundo for being so active. I really benefited from just knowing that. So whenever I had interview calls and the companies are not aware of these complex situations, I was the one kind of educating them. Let's take a way out, talk to your immigration lawyers, this is a possibility, and it actually works. It really works. So I think it's a great platform. The information out there, I think information is power, and I have felt that it works. So yeah, good luck.
Sanchari, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Sanchari, and I was part of the spring cohort of this year's Gurukool. And I really can't say how much I am still benefiting, because I'm just in the application phase, and I'm still benefiting from it. Of course, I got another person to also be part of the video, but yeah, so I have been, because so my PhD is from ISC, and I did one postdoc at INSTEM, and now I am in the University of Copenhagen doing my second postdoc. And because of that, I have always known about STEMPeers and how it initially started as CSG, and then how it has evolved. Initially not a very highly active person, because I had been in much other things. But one of the very key roles was when I was transitioning to Denmark, when I was coming here. And that was when I realized that it was, I just sent out, I didn't know anyone here. I just sent out an email, and I had so many responses and so many connections I got just within a day. And I think now with all Tracy's, I think so every weekend I go through Tracy's videos of resumes, cover letters, and all the different things that have happened, the initial part of application. And I'm still reaching out to people. I'm still not like, I have not yet made full use of the platform. There are many connections, many people who I'm still to reach out, and I know it will be in time. But I think it's a wonderful place for everyone to just reach out. And like, for example, what Shohini said that you don't realize about. So I had mixed understanding of business development. Am I in for it or not? Should I go for it or not? And then I'm sorry, I think so my background is there. But then I think so, Raghu, your talk was really very helpful in making me decide, should I go ahead or should I not? And that's when I decided that no, with kid, I can't go ahead with it. But it was quite instrumental in making a decision of going ahead. So I think for all the newcomers, it's a great platform to make use of connections always. Yeah, thanks. And yes, Mayur, I am to get connected with you, but I'm trying to find out the correct time and option for that. So I'm still in the process of connecting with all mentors. Yeah.
We can have a chat whenever you have time.
Yeah, thanks.
Looking forward to that.
No worries. And actually, one of the things I want to chime in quick and say is that while you may feel pressure to be moving fast and taking advantage of everything really quickly, there absolutely is the flip side of that is to join, and Shahini actually experience is sharing this aspect, to join and take your time and do this at your own pace. The resources are there when you need them, not that you have to 10 weeks and that's it, right? There's no magic to
deadlines.
Yeah, there's no deadlines, there's no rush to connect with everybody in the first week. You build your network over time, and when you have the time to make those connections, have the conversations, and have that relationship build over time, it makes it, a richer experience and a richer connection that will actually stand the test of time, as opposed to, the quick ones that you might make, instantaneously and then never follow up on, right? Like, relationship building is how I like to talk about networking, right? Networking, everybody feels like, oh, I have to rush and I have to do all these things, but, relationships, we build those over time, and, it's exactly that. So I just wanted to sort of kick that into the conversation.
If I could just respond to Sanchari's comment on it, I think making a decision for or against something is definitely important, right? You should know what's right, what's wrong. Does your background suit what you're trying to do? And I'm glad that was helpful for you. And that is the whole purpose. And you validated the platform very well. Thank you.
I completely agree. Knowing what you want to do and what you don't want to do is so equally important. And, coming in with, a preconceived idea of what you think you want to do, and then hearing about everything else just because you've never heard about any of these other pathways and these other experiences, is also equally important. And I think it really boils down to really two things. I think you may never have heard about these things, in which case this is a great space for you to get trained and understand, best practices, how to transition, types of things that you just never have been taught, right? I think we all expect ourselves to know intuitively how to write a resume or how to interview or how to, make connections. And there's an art to it. And I think that that's part of having peers around you to help support, and, having the information at hand to really know, okay, this is what I need to do in order to make this kind of impression and be able to step forward into interviews, late round interviews, job offers, multiple offers, negotiating, and how to, manage and navigate those pieces. That's my goal, is to set you guys up for success, so that then you become the next round of mentors, and help the next, reach back and help pull the next people up into amazing spaces and positions. So I realized I didn't tell you about my background, so I will hold that until we get to a space that's a good thing. But
okay, so we have with us today, I think, Aparajita, Archan, Nikhil, Preeti, Sanchari, and Vikas. If you guys want to unmute yourself, if you have any questions about how the program works, how it can help you with the transition, please feel free to do that. And all of us will be here to answer your questions.
Okay, I would like to go first. So just before asking my questions, I want to give a brief introduction. So
and tell us where you're also.
Oh yeah, I'm right now in Delaware. Probably you can see from my background. I'm currently a postdoc at University of Delaware. Before that, I did my PhD from Michigan State University, and then did my first postdoc there as well. And my background is plant biochemistry and metabolic engineering, sort of. So that was actually metabolic engineering I was interested in, and I was doing in MSU. But because of family reason, I have moved to Delaware, and right now I'm working in plant extracellular vesicles. Well, those are all technical details and all that. But my goal is to, of course, transition right now. I'm doing postdoc for almost 5 years, actually 6 years. I graduated in 2015. And as you said, like, I'm on the other side of the on the road right now, where I'm kind of, a bit lost. I don't know what is the exact or the right path for me to even get into. It's very challenging to navigate the postdoc work, immigration, motherhood, And I'm hearing about the other options which are out there, getting a lot of informations from other professional groups as well. But I'm not able to actively doing anything for my transitions. I'm kind of, as I said, a bit lost. So I probably need a more, like set directions how to, move forward. So that's why I'm interested. I haven't done the applications yet. I just quickly saw that this webinar is coming up. So I kind of quickly registered for that. And I would like to know more about the application process, how the program works, and the cost of the program. And the main inhibition for me to do any formal applications and all that, that I always feel that if I join and then if I'm not able to, devote time as much as I need to, and then I don't want to, create bad impression or whatever, because it's all, all in all these professional platforms, it's all about you're building relationship, and I don't want to do it with a negative connotations to it. So I'm still I was kind of debating whether I should go forward or not, but just jumped into the webinar because I knew from inside I have to do something, but this is bothering me too, that I'm not doing anything about the transition, and being postdoc for a long time is frustrating. I think most of us know that. So I'm going through that as well. So that's a brief introduction from me.
Sure. So to quickly reassure you, I think, it is important for you to recognize what your pacing is. Recognize that you can build relationships at the pace that you need to build relationships, that this is not, you don't have to keep up with the 10 weeks in your cohort. You can attend what you can attend when you have the time and attention and energy to be able to be effective in that space. And then, think about, what's meaningful for you right now, what's helpful for you right now, what's the next piece for you right now. And it may not be the same pacing as, someone else who's in the group. And, when you're ready to run and sprint, then do that. And when you need to, walk a lap, then you take the time to walk a lap. If you need to go sit on the bench, then you sit on the bench. And I think the beauty of this particular platform is we do ask a donation. It's $150. That's what the application isn't meant to be a burden. So let me say that, right? It's really to gauge intent and to understand a little bit more about you, so that when we're planning, we can see that piece, and we can understand, who we've got coming in and how we can best, make sure that you get your questions answered and that we have the expertise to be able to help you, right? But that is it for fees. Like after that, there's no additional fees. So if you, heavily participate in your cohort, then that's great. If you have a life happen, and trust me, it's happening to all of us at all, right now, and we all have different things going on, then, take it easy and pick up with the next cohort, right? Or pick and choose the lectures that are important to you. Everything's recorded, so you can go back to those videos whenever you need to. And if you have any questions at any time, I'm on the platform. You guys have access to me through LinkedIn and all those kinds of things. So, ask all the questions that you like. This is, to your benefit, to help you transition, to help you with, all the things that you don't know, to help you be successful in that transition. One of the first lectures we do is sharing a framework that I've developed to help you sort of get the big picture of, these are all the things you need to think about. And there's 10 of them. So I'm gonna give you my 10 fingers. But in that, right, you have to pick and choose. Okay, I have time and attention for this one, and that's all I can do this week or this month. And you have to judge for you. The other thing I will say is there's lots of parents in the group. So it's also great to have that sort of, at the beginning, I was sharing that, you know, my 12-year-old is my youngest right now. So I do have kids in school, and she just got her first vaccine. So, you know, yours is littler, that's great. But, you know, recognizing that, you know, I've walked the path of having kids in graduate school and postdoc. I didn't share that with you, but I will. You know, I've had, well, they didn't just magically disappear and then come back. So they've been with me all throughout, and, you know, navigating their schedule, navigating my schedule, navigating my career, is, you know, something I'm absolutely willing to share and talk about. And, you know, if we need to schedule a, you know, a parents networking event, then that's maybe the next great idea for the platform. And we'll have a, you know, maybe it's a once a month or something. And I'll get together on a Saturday night and we just talk about, you know, this is a challenge or that's a challenge, or how do you navigate this? You know, certainly when, you know, I give the interview lecture, I talk about, you know, what does it mean to answer those kinds of questions about family and whatnot. Women get them, men typically don't. And, you know, we can address those kinds of things directly, and we can have those kinds of conversations. And, you know, I can give you best practices on how to navigate some of that, and, or tips or tricks or, you know, template language, so that you have something that, you know, you feel confident when you go in, so that you're not, you know, anyway. But I hope that answers your question a little bit, but I want to make sure that we get to everyone today too.
One comment I'd like to make about the fees thing is I'd like to look at it like a, if you will, a lifetime membership, lifetime subscription, right? So it's not like an annual membership or a session membership, right? It's access to this entire world of the mentors here. So it's totally, you know, I can't say worth it because everybody's worth of a dollar is different, right? But um, but I think it's a good value that you get out of it.
Okay, just thanks both of you for clarifying my questions. And I would like to move forward with others' questions now.
Who wants to jump in and introduce themselves?
Or we just call out somebody.
Or ask a question. I don't want to put people on the spot. Like I want, you know, feel free to jump in. And this is a very organic group. I want to add to what Raghu was saying, in that I think Vikas is next. So thank you for volunteering. It's a social entrepreneurship model, right? Lots of the money goes back into the greater STEMPeers organization to help the bigger picture. It funds some of the fellows. It funds some of the other little projects that we have going. It funds, you know, the Zoom that we all benefit from. It funds, you know, me lecturing a little bit, but you know, the goal is that it's, you know, more than the sum of the parts, and I think that that's the benefit of that piece. But it is absolutely a lifetime membership, and there are not any additional fees after that. And I think that's an important point for me, that you guys you know that we're not going to, you know, keep looking at
Yeah.
you know,
Like the
regular.
simple things like Tracy does, she brings so much value to the group. Like a simple call with somebody else who calls themselves a consultant or an advisor. If you get, you know, generally you pay them to help you with your resume, they charge you $100 right there. If you ask somebody for an interview, a consultation, 1 hour, it's $100 to $200 right there. So it's a lot out there if you go on piecemeal basis, right? So this is a one-stop shop for all of that, and it allows you to be part of the social entrepreneur circle as well. And you're welcome to come in and build the team, build the group with your ideas. Like so Shoni, she joined as a student and she's like one of the key members now of the whole Gurukool platform, right? So you can be the next Shoni, you can be the next Raghu, you can be the next Tracy.
So Vikas, I see you. Vikas. I'm
Yeah,
probably saying that wrong. I'm sorry.
good day. Good day to all of you. And thank you so much for organizing this webinar. I am currently based in Bangalore, India, and I was awarded my PhD in 2019 September month. So to give you a brief idea about my background, I have a MSc biochemistry, and my PhD was on genetics of schizophrenia and metabolic abnormalities from NIMANS, Bangalore. And I have been a member of Facebook STEMPeers group for 7-8 years now. And I have been getting answers and response to my queries now and then. So it is a very good platform. The Facebook platform is very good.
Vikas, can I interrupt for a second? The voice quality is a little not very clear. Can you do anything about it?
Yeah, how is it now, sir?
Yeah, that's slightly better.
It is better now?
Yes, relatively.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah, thank you. So I have been a part of Facebook STEMPeers group for quite a long time now, and it is I find response and help for many of my queries now and then in the group. So thank you all for that. Actually, for creating such things. Now. Basically, for last 2 years, I am quite a bit lost regarding my postdoctoral opportunities or employment opportunities. I have been looking here and there, but I am not getting the right guidance or right suggestions. And my interest is to do more postdoc. I mean to do a postdoctoral work in clinical genetics or medical genetics. So, if I can get some advice, some suggestions from the mentors, I think I'll be able to apply to the right programs, postdoctoral programs, and build my career in the field of medical genetics. So, if Gurukool can help in this matter, I mean, it will be so great.
So the opportunities in that space certainly are there. It's a matter of, you're right, having the time and attention to focus on, finding the programs. How do you identify which ones you want to do? Connecting with others that have been in those programs to get some feedback in that space, because you want to be very intentional about choosing that space to do your training. It's, you want to be in a space that's going to, project you into the future and help you move forward. And you correctly note that, you want to consider all of these factors. So I think that's very forward thinking of you. I'm glad that you're thinking in that space. Not all people consider all of the factors that should go into that. So if we need to do a session on, how to choose a postdoc, factors that you want to think about, absolutely we can, kick something like that in there. I've done that in the past. It's not one I've done for Gurukool. So again, great idea. Happy to bring that into the platform and have that be an accessible resource for people. The other thing to think about too is that, all along the way, I think the rest of the framework that I've done has been built so that it's able to be flexibly used to transition into postdocs or transition into, careers and transition into all different places from all different fields and whatnot. The concepts of, talking to people who are in those spaces so that you have a good sense of what that space looks like, is similar whether you're looking at a postdoc or whether you're, going to look at a particular job title, career sector, or whatever, right? If you thought you wanted to be in BD, I would say talk to Raghu, right? But if your next step is getting into a particular type of postdoc program, then you want to talk to people who are in that space, right? That's the magic of an informational interview. So we talk about how to do those, and then you can apply that to whatever is appropriate for you in that space. But it's certainly, they're off the top of my head. I'm trying to think of, the right person to say, okay, we'll talk to this person because they've, been in the clinical genetics area, or they've, stepped into a clinical research coordinator type position. But I certainly know that I've coached lots of postdocs who've done exactly that in the past. So it's a matter of, just getting you connected to the right people so that
Yes.
you can step forward into that direction. And that's honestly part of the magic of this group.
Exactly.
Is that there's almost 500 strong of people who know people, right? So I know some, but every single one of those on the call today know people. And all of us know people who've gone into, a wide variety of career trajectories. So, if I have got the couple people and someone else has a couple of people, and you talk to some of those and you ask them the question of, well, who else do you recommend that I talk to? That's one of the things I always say to use on an info call. And if they give you 2 names and everybody after that gives you 2 names, then you've exponentially added, first of all, to your network, but secondly, frankly, you can't call everybody. So connect with them, but then be picky about who you talk to. And then if you have time to add more and add conversations over time, totally fine, right? But it's choosing to, take a step on, growing your knowledge and growing your understanding of what's out there. And, if this is the right thing, then great. And if it's not, there are resources out there.
Yeah.
I happen to love this one, and I happen to, dedicate a lot of my time to it. So that's me, right?
Yeah.
So
So how do I apply for Gurukool?
there is a simple application form that Shahini, I think, is it linked
Yeah.
already?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not here on this chat. I'll just share this. It's on the platform, but I'll share that and the main post with all the details also of the application.
Yeah. Thank you.
So if I may just add to this for Vikas, you're not alone in being lost, Vikas. It's everybody, right? Everybody's at that point, at some point or the other in life, not only during their first transition when you're coming from a PhD and looking for a position, postdoc or a company position. Even me, after 7, 8 transitions, if I'm taking on another job, I feel lost, right? Because
Yeah.
what are they going to expect? What are they going to do? How am I going to do? Am I able to perform as well? Did I set wrong expectations? Am I going to be able to deliver? All of that is part of this process. And this is a perfect platform to share that and be aware of, what can you do? What can you not do? And just get the fact that it is part of the whole process. It's not just you, right?
Yeah.
So that's where you have these travelers on your side, co-traveling with your co-passengers on this journey of your travel, of your transition, if you will,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So it makes so much sense when you look at it that way. And I also see, for clinical research, if you want to go into a company, is it possible to get a job that says clinical research first off the bat? Or do you have to actually take another position which will qualify you to get to that position? That's an important thought process itself. So all that you gain by talking to people, as Tracy said, I connect it to one person, Tracy connects it to the other person. You're talking to them and say, how did you get there? What should I do
Yes.
to get there? Right? So
Yeah.
those are all the value things that you get out of this group. which you may not get by a single phone call to a friend or even somebody who is already in that position.
Exactly. I completely agree to that. And
Glad.
I think that is how I should, my approach and my thought process should be in future.
Perfect.
Thank you so much, Dr. Raghu.
Hey, no worries at all. Tracy is the rock star here.
Thank you, Dr. Tracy.
My
hey
imposter
guys.
syndrome is like screaming today, but that's okay. So thank you.
So I'm happy to go
I'm
next
going to
if
practice
you.
my thank you. Yeah, jump in, please.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for sorry for not participating earlier because I was traveling in a metro, so the network was not that stable. And I'm still walking if there's too much noise in the background. So hi guys, so I'm Nikhil. So I've been actually part of the STEMPeers when it was a Facebook group in 2015 and more like a IC group. But I've been like an active member for a very, very long time. And I guess probably at least one or two people might know me already. So I got my PhD from Bangalore. Then since then I have done 2 postdocs, one in US, one in Paris. And right now I'm in Paris for last 4.5 years or something. So like the most of you, I plan to transition towards the industry. So my long-term goal is to go towards life science investments. And I've been looking for opportunities for last few months, let's say. And, but I do realize that direct entry into life investment is not possible. So I'm happy to, take kind of research and development position to begin with. Yeah, so that's my long-term goal. And I've been actually, I joined Cheeky Scientist Group as well, which I guess is probably not very different from Gurukool, which I'm now not very super active looking at the lectures or the notes and stuff. And a major problem which I faced during the transition is a lack of clarity about the requirements for the jobs, the skills that you need to have. And also, I'm based in Europe. So of course, you don't have the same opportunities which are offered to the French citizens or offered to the EU citizens. So that's always a second problem which I've often faced. And third is the language barrier. So in my case, I don't know, mine is more European-based problems. So yeah, I'll be happy to get your views and keep on learning about this Gurukool program through the rest of the conversation.
Cool.
Sure.
We have a European-based solutions. Mayur is there. Go ahead, Tracy.
I think within after Tracy makes an opening statement there.
Yeah, so I'm happy to have you jump in. I just wanted to say, there is a significant group that's in Europe, and I think that that's a great resource for you. Understanding what you want to do next and how you want to navigate that. You want to absolutely take advantage of all the resources that you have at your disposal. And, from my perspective, the approach that I take for Gurukool is a very positive, forward-looking, encouraging, intentional approach to your progression and movement into that new space. I don't want to scare you. I want to take out the anxieties. My entire goal is to relieve stress, remove that terror that I think other spaces can create. So that's our goal for ours. And if that resonates with you, then that's great. If someone else mentioned that they were looking at resources from societies and whatnot, absolutely, right? If you're local postdoc office is doing stuff, please show up to their activities. Learn from every piece that you can learn from. The challenge and the opportunity that Gurukool offers really is that a lot of spaces don't have a good programming, and therefore you have no idea what you don't know, and you struggle and you get stuck and you feel like, I'm not progressing, or I'm sending out applications. I've sent out 100 and I've gotten nothing. Like, what's going on, right? And that sometimes turns into that imposter syndrome that I talked about earlier, right? That you feel like, okay, well, it's me. But in most cases, it's actually not. It's really just how you're packaging and presenting your skills. And if you do that in a certain way, then, things go in the right direction. You are able to, positively talk about your experiences. And I'm going to use the S word, sell yourself, right? But being able to, and it sounds like nobody wants to, everybody says, I don't want to go into sales. I don't want to, blah, 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 right? Like, there's this great fear of doing those things, but it's really just persuasive communication. You've been trained to do this, right? To just give you a piece of training maybe today. You've already done this. You do this every day. When you're talking with colleagues in the lab and you need to convince them that your idea is the right idea, you are persuading. If you are writing a paper, you are persuading. If you are writing a grant, you are persuading. If you are giving a presentation, you are persuading. And I don't care whether it's a lab meeting or whether it's a national or international conference. Persuasive communication, right? This is what I did. This is what my results are. And this is why it's amazing. And you do that. So you have that skill. And the only piece that you sort of have to wrap your brain around is to turn it so that it is talking about your skill set and moving, yourself into the next, and helping you put yourself into the next career step that you want to take. That didn't come out the way I wanted it to, but, it's self-promotion, and that feels dirty, right? Like, oh God, I don't want to do that, right? I don't want to be saying, self-promotion is bad. But so when I give this self-promotion talk, I spin it as, presenting your best self, right? Everybody wants to do that. So I'll give it the title of that, but really the presentation is entirely, this is how to self-promote. So, and part of that is really just taking the stigma out of some of the things that you need to be doing and need to do to be successful in your transition. And not having it feel like it's impossible, right? Or that you aren't going to get to where you actually want to be, or that, you're going to struggle the entire time. I don't want to say that it's easy. It's not a cakewalk. There is no magic, if you have the magic paper, you get the magic job. Like, that doesn't exist. That's what academia sells you on, but so I wanted to spell that, I suppose. But, you gain so many skills that are buried and no one really talks about. So I will say one thing, and then I want Meyer to jump in. We say, I do research. So when I say I do research, and which I'm not active in research anymore, so I'm semi-retired. Let me say that. But that really means a bunch of things. So I'm going to, off the top of my head, see how many things I can come up with, and I'm sure you're going to jump in with more. But research is identifying the fact that there's a problem, figuring out what the background research is to support you moving forward with the problem, or creating some hypotheses, coming up with a process or a protocol to be able to test your hypotheses, actually doing the experiments, doing quality assurance on your experiments, doing data analysis, writing the paper, presenting it, working with colleagues. That happens in the middle. Sorry, I missed that one. And come up with one more. Writing a grant, maybe. I mean, there's so many different pieces of I do research, right? And that's just quick off the top of my head, right? And so what did I forget? Tons of stuff, right? So think about, you might be, you might be managing a budget. You might be managing the lab. You might be managing people. I can keep going. But my point is that, you know, as you think about the underlying skill set that you have, and now that I've sort of illuminated all of those, right, those can take you, all of those skills can take you into science writing. They can take you into business development. They can take you into project management. They can take you into management, so people management. They could take you into bench science, wherever you want to go, nonprofits, administration, faculty track, non-faculty track, whatever you want to do, you've got these possibilities that are out there. You know, Raghu is right. You may want to go do a clinical fellowship. You may want to jump straight into the career. And it isn't until you're really talking to people and unpacking some of those things that you really kind of get a sense of what that looks like. So I'm shushing and passing the baton.
Thank you, Tracy. And thanks, Nikhil. I just sent you a connection on LinkedIn. We can get connected. I'm also based here in Europe, and I can totally understand the struggles that one might have while transitioning into a specific domain within Europe. And one of the major reasons, unlike US, where visa is one of the major hurdles, in Europe, language becomes a major hurdle. But nevertheless, because this session is based more on Gurukool, let's get back to understanding what it can provide. Because I think the idea of Gurukool is to help you understand and navigate and transition into the career of your choice. And one has to understand, although the process might look generalized, it is applicable to no matter which region you come from. You have to understand the process of applying to certain companies. You need to understand what are the interviews going to look like, because at the baseline, the processes are more or less similar across regions, although there might be slight differences, some regional differences that might creep in terms of the organization of the CV, the core questions that are discussed during the interview, etc. And I think on Gurukool, we have a huge, I don't know the number yet, but we have significant number of mentors and mentees who also come from Europe. So by talking to them, you would probably already have a good idea on, from the mentors, how they have transitioned, what has helped them, and if the language had been a barrier for them. Second is, and from mentees, you also realize and get network to the people. And because you said you are interested in moving into investment area, maybe there are some mentees who are interested in a similar platform. Besides that, yes, there are limitations, but as long as you understand the limitations, I think a strategy could be devised where you could try to navigate those limitations. In case of Europe, it would be language. So in that case, maybe a good idea just to network with people to understand what kind of companies would allow you to transition, where they are probably working in English and not the local language, just because that's the kind of work culture there. And that's also one of the companies that I transition into. The work culture is English. The contract, for example, is also in English, and it's a German firm. So I think the idea there would be trying to find out those specific firms and being very specific with your applications and being ardent with your applications. And this is, I think, where probably Gurukool can help you quite a bit.
Yeah, thank you so much. It sounds perfect to me, and this is exactly what I was looking for. How to find those set of companies which accept foreign workers with the English language background.
I mean, you are saying you're interested in investment. I mean, there can be multiple routes into it. I know that people without experience, it becomes difficult for them to transition into the core investment field. But then there could be other routes. For example, one could move into consulting, or one could move into startup and then gradually transition. As long as you're clear with your aim, there can be multiple routes to move into a specific direction.
Yeah, that's even like I spoke to a lot of principals and partners at PC. They told me the same thing, like either you work at a startup or you work for a consulting, then you can another 3-4 years you could think of transitioning.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Yeah, I will second that. There are multiple routes into every position that you can possibly think of. And it's just a matter of making the decisions about what's right for you to help you get to the space that you want to ultimately be in. And I think there's some others who probably have some questions. So I want to not belabor the point.
We also have Roshni joining us, who's also another mentor in the group.
Awesome. Hello.
Hi, Tracy. Hi, Raghu. Hi, Mo. Thanks for having me.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would say to all the mentees and everyone who's wondering about Gurukool, like I moved to Canada and transitioned into an industry role. It wasn't easy. Trust me, each time you send out an application, they don't respond, they reject you, you are bound to feel disappointed. It is one of the most common things that people feel. It is not, as Tracy mentioned, you would take it on yourself saying, hey, it's my fault and something's wrong with me. But if you, there's one thing that I live with, and that's if you talk and listen to enough stories, enough transition stories, trust me, you'll know what to do next. It's just that each person has just taken a different route into it. And we might know of only 1 or 2 ways. You'll be surprised to know what are the other routes. And it is just getting even in-depth interviews, like informational interviews is what helped me. I would just like intensely just talk to people. It's not for getting a job. Like if you put a pressure on a person that, hey, I'll have an informational interview with you and then you have to refer me to a job, that's not the way to go about it. I think you should take off that pressure on people and just let them talk, listen, what does their day look like? You might think of so many fancy career path and then you realize that, oh no, this is not what I want to do for the rest of my life. What sounds fancy might not be that, it might not suit your personality. It's always very important that the path you choose fits into your personality as well, because I'm a field application scientist and I work supporting this like a technical sales specialist. And I realized that, not everyone can actually do it. You should love sales and talking to people and answering questions and be totally sitting there and, have people interrupt you through your presentation. Every 2 minutes into your presentation, you'll have people interrupting. You should be okay with all this. It's not what people assume it to be. So when people ask for informational interviews, they only ask about transition stories. They don't ask about what the day entails. But what do you do in your day? What are the hard parts? When does your day start? When does it end? Everything. And that actually helps you make informed choices. Like I always wanted to get into clinical research and I started talking to a couple of people. I'm like, no, I don't like talking to doctors. I just realized it. I'm like, no, it was actually what I assumed, but not what I wanted to do with it. It's just like that. It looks fancy from outside, and just talking to people gives you that insider's outlook of what is challenging. There are people who reach out to me, hey, I love field application scientists. I'm like, can you talk to customers the whole day? Like just answer. Like, no, I don't like talking to people. Exactly. You're never going to be happy there. It might give you a paycheck, but you would dread going to your job. You would not be happy. You're looking for a way out. So I think making informed choices will also help. Once you enter Gurukool, I've seen so many people, hey, I want this, talk to this person or doing this kind of job. Make a long, exhaustive list. Ask them those questions. Yeah, it's not about getting a job. It is getting a job that suits your personality and that makes you happy. So, well.
Thank you, Roshni. I think Preeti raised her hand. Preeti, go ahead. You can ask your question.
Hi. So thank you for doing this. I also just signed up. I saw this morning there was this a seminar happening. So I just wanted to find out what happens in the program. And so I got my PhD in Germany. Then I moved to US for my postdoc, and I'm a postdoc, like a late postdoc based in New Haven, Connecticut right now. And I'm
I used to live in New Haven.
Oh, you do? Oh, nice. So I'm kind of still on the fence about leaving academia. And if I do, what on earth am I going to do? There's so many options. There's so many options, and just finding out what I will be a good fit in, and like Roshni said, what I'm going to enjoy doing. And then of course, then how do I even like transition to that? So like, I was wondering, like, it sounds like this is a group that helps with those kinds of questions. So I just wanted to understand that.
I can speak in very quickly over here, just from my experience. As I said, when I joined the platform, I remember my introduction was because, we want all the mentees to introduce themselves. And my introduction was, I want to join R&D, like an R&D position in the industry. And I was like on the get-go, like, this is what I want to do. And then again, we have more than 500 members, right? We have different career panels, and over time you get to interact with them. And we have a whole database of members where you have access to all their information, where they're currently situated and all. But over time, through Tracy's webinars, through these career panels, you actually get to know of the different options that are there, and also people from the platform who are in these different job profiles. And if you are in doubt, again, my second post in the platform was after 2 months of joining, where I realized that I really don't want to do an R&D position anymore. This is probably not for me. And I had a question where I was like, I don't know how to go about this situation. And there were people who I, at that point of time, I had never interacted with. I was very new, who had questions, like who had answers, who had responses, and I connected with them on LinkedIn. And then once again, I said, like, in Gurukool, you have tons of resources just from the posts or the questions that other people have asked, and people have mentors or their fellow mentees have answered, right? And that's how I found, that's how I came across Roshni, actually. She's the first mentor that I had connected with, because after watching Tracy's interview, after attending Tracy's interview on LinkedIn, I wanted to make one, like customize one and have somebody reach out, but that I'm going on a tangent right now. But the point is, on Gurukool, you have that opportunity to ask that question, ask that doubt, but also have the information and interviews, as Roshni mentioned, with people who are holding, who are in different job profiles, and ask them questions. Again, my earliest, after Roshni, I think the person I connected with was Mayur. And that was when I was getting introduced to the world of consulting, and I reached out to him. And I still remember this because we had more than an hour-long conversation, which started off with consulting, but went into a very different thing about just how to approach a transition, but you get to learn with these conversations. Again, I still think I'm confused. I think
You're
I know.
still interested in consulting, right?
Yes, I know okay. I'm still interested in what, but again, I have not made that transition here. I'm still on that journey, but this is where you ask your questions and you actually get so many people, because the people who are here are the ones that have reached out to Raghu. I sent him a message on LinkedIn. He asked me for my number, and in 10 minutes he called me and we had a conversation, and he gave me 6 different possible directions that I could go to before I made that final transition, or if I could just do an immediate one. So, you have these resources. I think that's what Padma initially said, that information is power. Like, you have that knowledge and you have the opportunity to talk to all these people and know all these different things. So being a mentee currently going through this process, it's like, that's the biggest thing that I've received from this group, apart from this wonderful relationships with the mentors and your fellow mentees, because the mentees, they actually talk about things that they thought they did wrong in the interviews, or things that did not work out, so that other people can learn from their experiences of what to do and what not to do. So it was a broad response, but I hope that answered your question slightly.
Yeah, it did. Thank you so much.
Also, I would actually add another point to that, because we are talking about a lot of mentors being present on Gurukool, but one also has to understand there are a lot of mentees who come with different experiences. They have been through a lot of different interviews. They might have worked earlier in an industry position, moved back to academic position, now want to transition again. So you do have 5, as Sohini mentioned the number. One could consider them as 500 different mentors and not necessarily mentees. Just a way of looking at it.
Yeah, I want to pitch in there.
Absolutely.
With what Mayur said. See, when I moved to Canada, I was so traumatized. I'm like, oh my God, this new country, I have no idea. Nobody, no connections, nothing. And there were a bunch of us who joined Gurukool at the same time. And all I could see was like, they all mentioned, hey, I'm moving to Canada, I'm moving, Richa, Ketan, I mentioned a bunch of us who moved together and none of us knew what to do. You won't believe it. We formed a group. We would talk to each other. We're like, hey, you know what? I found this job and you might like it. We are still amazing friends. We would still reach out to our friends. I made all those friends on Gurukool, every single one of them. I think Gurukool formed that platform. We were like-minded people who were all looking for jobs at the same time. And each of us, according to our personality, transitioned into different kinds of jobs. It was, and we, even now, even today, when I find a lot, that, and they inform us, hey, I'm looking to move to a new job, and we find it, we forward it to them. So even you form that community and give support to each other. It's not only that you look up to the mentors, you become each other's support system.
Exactly. Your mentees are also a huge support system because you are in this process together with them. And one of the first webinars that we've started we've been doing this for the past few cohorts, is that it's a welcome session, but you get to meet your fellow peers and you get to understand. And from that day onwards, you start building your networks or your relationships with other people who are in this journey with you, along with our mentors. Yeah. I think, Preeti, do you have any other questions?
Just one last thing. It's more of a, I don't know, personal problem than question. Is just, so it sounds like there are so many opportunities, which is great. But how does someone who's a little bit introverted approach that? Because, it's great that people want to connect, but sometimes you're like, I do want to, but I'm also like, if there's anyone here who's an introvert, I think they understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. I wrote a little article on a little newsletter about how introverts interact. And like Shoni said, she just messaged me and I called her back and talked to her for an hour. There are people like that who are proactive in reaching out, but you can't expect everybody to do that. Everybody has their own life. Everybody has their own styles of interacting and different amounts of time they have. But you will get over it really soon when it starts biting you in the back when you really need to move, right? You need to get things done. There's a source of water. You need to go there to get water, right? It's your lifeline. At some point, you need to make it happen. But it's not difficult. Nowadays, everybody is an introvert. We're all sitting in front of this stupid camera, right? So all you have to do is ask a question, and that need for the answer is going to drive you to ask the question. That's it. And then there's plenty of information out there. All you have to do is ask a question and smile.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. What I will add is that when I talk about networking, when I talk about interviewing, I do talk about this, right? Informational interviewing, LinkedIn, this topic exactly comes up at different points. No one is purely an introvert or purely an extrovert, right? We have introverted or extroverted tendencies. The truth is we're all ambiverts. We all are both. But we exhibit those tendencies in different times. What introversion really isn't about being shy. It's about how you get your energy, right? So I, as an extrovert, love this 18 people on the screen and I can, see faces and I get a lot of energy out of that. So when everybody turns their cameras off, I have to dig deep because I don't get that feedback. So and God, I can't wait until I see people in real life and I can give hugs again, because this whole like social distant thing is like killing me, right? I'm slowly dying a horrible death. And yeah, so I know it's not about me. So In this case, though, one of the things that I spend a lot of time talking about at different points is how to have those conversations, give you the, pieces of, or, pieces of how to reach out and make an introduction, how to write a short, you get 300 characters to connect with someone in LinkedIn, right? How do you make the most of that, right? And part of it is just recognizing that, I really want to be connected to this person, or I really want to talk to this person, right? How do I reach out? And sometimes it's just as easy as, giving you the language and the words to say, we have a similar background and, I'd love to be connected, period, right? Like send that much, right? If they respond and they connect, great. If they don't, find the next person, right? The truth is we don't know what's going on in everyone else's lives, and they may be, completely underwater drowning and trying to just survive the next piece for their own space. But lots are, coming up for air and being able to share experiences and bring others. And that's why I say, it's hard not to take those things personally, but in this case, I would say, this isn't personal. Some of those things aren't personal. And so we talk about some of those things where you can take that out of the equation, right? And give you those kinds of tools so that you have, a little bit of template language to reach out and have an informational interview. I give you some questions to start with, right? So you've got some that you can kind of customize, and then you can add to those based on, the exact role or the exact person, or, you can customize some of that to that. And I give you tips in that space, right? To say, okay, ask open-ended questions. Don't ask yes or no questions. So when you're devising your questions, you can kind of think about what that means, right? And I think that's the magic that helps take that stigma out of it, right? To, to say it's okay to walk into a room of 300 people and go, wow, that's a lot of people, because I've done that. And even as an extrovert, the very first lecture I was giving for American Heart Association, the first lecture I was giving at a national conference that wasn't my it wasn't my society, right? So it wasn't genetics, it wasn't statistics, it wasn't the people that I normally talk to. It was a whole room of 300 people that I did not know. And I walked in and I went, oh my God. The funny thing is the lecture I was giving there was on networking. And I knew that if anybody ever figured it out, right, like eventually some people would know, right, that I wasn't talking to people. And so I was like, well, how do I do this? And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm giving the lecture on this. So I better figure this out, right? I better just do the things that I say for people to do. And I started with the table in the back. I sat down and I was talking to someone. It turned out he was a VP for American Heart Association. He was introverted. He didn't feel like he wanted to jump in the middle of the room. But he's a VP for the American Heart Association. So clearly he's been talking to a few people, because you don't get to that space without progressing in your career, right? So I just sat down and I said, hey, busy room, and you mind if I sit here in the back with you where it's a little quieter? And he was like, absolutely. And we just struck up a conversation. So it wasn't that I had to come up with the most amazing, factoid to share and have this profound conversation. I just walked in and I was like, oh, I need a minute. Hey, this is kind of quiet back here. Do you mind if I sit with you? And, and you can be quiet together, or you can have a conversation and say, hey, introduce yourself. I'm I'm a so-and-so from where, and, my focus is this, and it doesn't have to be any much more than that. So, if someone's engaged with that, if I say, hi, I'm Tracy, I am, really excited about helping people progress in their careers and, positively impacting the training space so that people, move into meaningful careers. If that's engaging to you, then you're going to say, oh, I'd love to hear more about that. And if it's not, then you're going to be like, oh, that's nice. Right. And we move on, and that's okay too. Right. Like, we don't have to be besties with everyone we come across. What I find is that, over time, you build connections with people, and the ones that you're going to have profound relationships with, those are going to develop. And the other ones, you are just connected and acquaintances, and those are okay too. So I see another hand up though, and I want to make sure that we get to that. And it's getting on 1:30, so we've been here for an hour and a half and yapping, and I can talk all day, but I know that y'all have activities and whatnot that you want to get to. So go ahead.
And Preeti, I used to be at New Haven in the neuroscience neurology group for a little bit, genetics group for 3-4 years. So feel free to reach out as a
Oh, yeah,
Yale
that's nice. I'm
person.
actually neuroscience too. And
Yeah.
yeah, we are
My
second day
wife
in
also
genetics.
postdoc there for a few years. My kids were born in New Haven Hospital.
Okay.
Totally from
Sounds
there.
good. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
It is a vanishingly small world, I have to tell you.
Who's next?
Should I go ahead? I just raised my hand.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Yeah, I just want to mention what Preeti and Roshni mentioned resonates so well with me. First of all, I'm also in a position where I'm kind of hand waving. Like I know what not to do. I want to get out of the, academia and bench work, but that's not what I don't want to do. What I'm really questioning to myself is what I'm good at, what are my strengths and weaknesses are, and what would be a suitable role for me. And I'm kind of, as everyone said, I'm lost and puzzled, and I want to figure out what suits best with my personality as well as in my phase of life. As I mentioned, handling so many things are overwhelming, and I'm kind of dealing with every day. And I question myself, even like doing whatever I'm doing, that I question myself that am I doing it right, or am I not good enough? Maybe I should quit. All those things going on inside, and that's a very big hindrance to progress in life as a whole. And the second thing that I'm struggling is, as I mentioned, my background is in plant biochemistry. And wherever I go, I get to know people who are in clinical research or pharmaceutical research, and I find very few people. I would say probably 1% who are in the plant background, and I feel like I have no choice other than doing bench work because I don't know what are my other options. So these are a few things that I'm struggling with. Like getting to know what Roshni just mentioned is really encouraging, because maybe there are things out there which I am completely aware of, and I'm kind of getting stressed because of lack of information. So I just want to say thank you to Roshni and maybe this whole platform. I'm in STEMPeers, or even when it was CHG for a long time, but I'm not very active. Very recently, I'm doing the immigration and having lots of questions in that group. But I'm feeling really excited to join here and get to know more about the Gurukool program. Hopefully, in future, I'll be one of those who would who would be able to say that I have found my way out and help others to do that.
So you will find your way. That I can promise you. That is not a it's always the fear, I think, but and that's really sort of, I guess, want to inject that positivity piece for you. Like there is a way. But having so maybe one of the lectures we do is on transferable skills, and we literally just talk for an hour about all the different pieces of that you gain in the trainings that you've had. So your focus in your technical application is plant science, but you have gained skills in managing projects, right? So you sort of have to sit down and think about all of the skills you have, and then your interest in taking those and moving them forward into the next piece, right? So Rashni had a great example talking about the field application scientist, right? Loves to talk science, loves to connect with people, doesn't want to be the one doing the science in the moment, except that if it's part of teaching someone how to use a piece of equipment or in the moment of saying, well, have you thought about doing this or that or the other thing with your research, right? Like you're hearing things and you get to throw out wild ideas and then you don't have to do them. Like that's, to me, that's always the best part. Like I love doing that part of science, right? Of, have you thought about this or that or the other when people are designing studies or surveys and stuff. I love doing that. So, but then I don't have to deal with the fallout of, like if they implement or don't find stuff or don't find stuff, like I get to just sit by the sidelines and just watch. So, it's part of for you, I think, is really doing a self-assessment, which is what I think everyone should start with, and thinking about the skills that you have and the interest you have in moving those forward into a career. And so the one that I say all the time is you may have amazing hands and be the best pipetter ever, but if you hate it, don't do it, right? Like, I don't care how good you are at it. If it is soul sucking, that is not the career for you. And you might be the best at selling it, right? Like that might be actually, right? Like you may be able to walk in and go, this is how you do it, right? And not have to do it on a regular basis might bring might be the thing that brings joy to your life. Watching someone struggle and saying, okay, well, if you do this or that, it's going to make it a lot easier, right? And to use the expertise that you have for it, but not actually do it on a day-to-day basis. Or it, using the technical knowledge you have in plant science and turning that into a career in policy or outreach. Might be something. So you'd want to, if that resonates with you at all, then you want to explore that and talk to people in those spaces to say, how do you take this knowledge that you have and use it for climate change or global warming or, global warming science or something else that's not, what you're doing right now.
Well,
and
yeah,
I'm just sort of throwing out some random ideas of what that might look like. But I mean, that's exactly what we'd want to do for you, is to help you explore what are you good at, what do you love, and what do you not love, and then how do you driver that towards different career sectors.
talking to
Raghu and
different
Roshni.
people, talking to different people will get you all those examples and real life situations and examples. Like, for example, I have many friends who transitioned from plant sciences into the biotech pharma industry as well. One clear example is this guy who did, PhD the same time as I did, plant sciences. He came here postdoc 6 years, UC Davis, plant sciences. All of a sudden, he jumped into Amgen, right? Amgen is a biotech pharma company. He worked there for 18 years.
Wow.
Right. And he grew from scientist to principal to scientist to director level. Then he got into Takeda, which is a pharma company, huge company. He's head of early target discovery right now. He's in San Diego from plant sciences. Can you believe that? Isn't that reassuring?
Yes.
I have so many friends who've gone on similar tracks. So when you talk to people like this, that's what you figure out. You talk to the network, you get these information, you get reinvigorated, and you want to go see what you can do and achieve. And one more thing I want to mention is, I talk to people. A lot of people say, do what you're passionate about, right? More than what you end up in. But that's a very difficult thing. A lot of people don't know what they're passionate about. I've talked to people who said, how do I know what I'm passionate about? Right? So self-introspection, talk to more people. You will start realizing what you want to do. The one thing I'll tell people is, what's one thing that I wake you up in the middle of the night and ask you, you can just answer without even thinking about it. What would you love talking about? What would you love to do? What is that one thing that you don't have to really think? It's like the back of it's like the lines on your palm, you know exactly what it looks like, right? So you should be so familiar with it, so comfortable with it. That's your passion. What's your go-to thing, right? So when you talk to people more and more and more, yeah, sleep. Am I here? What do you like to do? Sleep. Perfect.
In the middle of the night, if I wake up, I'll probably say I want to sleep right now.
Yeah, but if a gun was to your head and they said, what you like the most, you'd not be sleeping. Your sleep would go away.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just kidding.
Good.
Yeah, and I noticed one thing, towards certain careers, we have such biases. Like the moment people would tell me about the word sales, I would run the other way. I'm like, I'm not that salesperson. I'm not going to be selling things. Like it was just like literally stuck in my head that I'm not good at sales. I would never be able to do it. So I looked at every other path other than sales. And I'm like, no, I'm going to do like clinical research, this. I ended up in field application as a scientist. And 2 weeks back, someone with 18 years experience in technical sales and marketing told me, Roshni, you should move to sales, like 100% sales. You're really good at it. And I'm like, really? Is that me? Like, are you talking? You would never know. You just have like certain careers are glorified. You think you would do it or you want to be there. Certain other careers, it's not. Nothing is what you imagine it to be. You really need to talk to it. And I think I lost so many years trying to avoid it, to only realize right now that no, actually I'm good at it. So, just reaching out to people and asking these questions. I think Gurukool is that platform where all of us here are not judging. You can just be so real. Like we all know that you're looking for a career transition. You don't have to mask it, avoid it. No, just be your real self. Ask that question you want to ask. And I think this is the place you do that. You learn, other than like before you reach out to strangers, you reach out on LinkedIn to the mentors, mentees, and talk to them. Like learn, if you are an introvert, learn how to do that here. This is that place. You just that one sentence that break that ice, say, hey, I'm a CSG Gurukool mentee, can we connect? That one sentence, you would so improve from there. Taking that first step is the problem. I agree with Tracy. None of them are total us are total extroverts or introverts. It's that this is out of your comfort zone. Now, you've never been able to do it before. Trust me, the moment you do it, you realize, hey, no, I'm good at it. And have that, Tracy has given so many wonderful tips on informational interviews. Take that list, try asking, get a mentor and try asking all those questions, rehearse. You'll feel 2-3 mentors, you'll start feeling confident. And all these mentors are not judging you at any point. All of us have been there. I'm that person who sent 100 applications and got rejected on 100 applications. Like, like none of us are judging. So it's not that we have amazing stories to tell you, like, oh no, I have only success stories. No, we have a lot of failure stories too. Trust me. So don't let that pull you back, thinking that these are successful people and I'm not. No, these are people who have never struggled in life and no, you've got it all wrong. I think we're all very real here. Yeah, and even in the next transition, I would reach out to all of them and ask for help and ask Shohini. I have rehearsed my interviews with her, asked her for feedback, and I didn't get through the interview. She's seen that as well. Like, so I think you get the point here. We're all very real, and go ahead, take that step. Just step out of your comfort zone here.
Thank you. Thanks all of you for all the reassurance. Yeah. It's really helpful.
I'm sending the application form link again over here, just in case. But again, we will keep putting this up on STEMPeers again and again. But again, if just at the interest of time, I think we should be wrapping up now. But if anybody has any final comments or questions, let us know. You can ask that on the STEMPeers platform. You can reach out to any one of us and ask that question as well. And we will hopefully answer all your queries. Any last words?
There's probably one thing that I would like to mention, and this is what Roshni also touched upon. Everyone has been, first of all, just to understand, transition is not an easy process. It is a difficult process. And it's difficult for everyone. Everyone has been through it. For those who have transitioned, it doesn't mean that the next time they transition, it's going to be easy for them. It could be equally difficult for them. I mean, and second thing, what one needs to understand is that a lot of people are on the same boat. And I think this is what you realize once you also join Gurukool, that when people start opening up, they start understanding that you are not alone there. And I think this already forms a strong connection, a strong bond, and a strong support system that essentially helps you sustain and successfully transition at the end of the day. And I think this is crucial.
Absolutely. All right. On that note, I am going to stop the recording.